Okay. I spontaneously kind of switched on the camera because I wanted just to do one video where I ended up like with four different things. Don't know what the hell that is. Yes, just maybe I have to like adjust it a bit like this. Probably. Okay. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah. I'm like sitting on the floor but on a block. So like on a yoga block. I don't know. I don't know. Hmm. Maybe like this is better. Camera is shaking a bit, but anyway. I'm kind of I was reading the titles of the videos that I had ideas for, and there was this thing where which kind of scares me because this is a big kind of title and a big topic, and I keep asking myself, am I ready to talk about this? Do I want to talk about this? It's more of a life topic than a writing topic, but it's about, I guess, if my attention gets is drawn to that topic, I should try to begin talking about it. So it's about when you're over 30 years old and all those things haven't happened yet. I feel like there's a lot of people talking about this, and they, when you're over 40, when you're over 50, when you're over 60, when you're over 70, yeah, when you're 25. And those things that you wanted are not there. They're not there. I mean, the big success kind of you imagined is not there. Um, for example, a family you wanted is not there. You still haven't traveled to all the countries you wanted to. You're still far from being financially independent and free. Well, independent, yeah, but free, no. You are still not as high, for example, in your career as you wanted to be. Or you simply have nothing to show up for your time here. Mm, and I've been thinking about this, and I think everyone, no matter what level, no matter what age, like they could be a director in a corporation, they could be a homeless person somewhere in the world, they could be a student, they could be, I don't know, just a woman who has a job which doesn't pay that well. They could be someone who aspired always to have a creative project but never got around to doing this. I'm speaking and I'm feeling grief. Maybe one of these days I will go completely cuckoo and will be like a channeler of energy. But yeah, because kind of I see writing that way as well, like a channeling of ideas, like channeling of stuff. Often, I mean, it's not really dictated to you, but it comes to you and you catch it. It comes to you and you catch it, and then you work on it. That's another metaphor, which is not mine. But I'm feeling grief for some reason, like deep grief, when this moment where people realize that they haven't actually realized their full potential, and they are still young, let's say, or they're still capable of doing that, but either they were too afraid, or they were busy with something else, or they didn't know it was possible for themselves, or they just didn't dare to dream that big. Last case was my case. I feel like I did a lot of things. Don't want to boast, I'm not a director in a corporation, that's for sure. Also don't have the family either, but that's another topic. What I mean is, I did a lot of stuff, but had a career, earned some money, moved countries, met a lot of people, made connections, spoke languages, did interesting projects, saw the world, lived in another country, had a relationship with a person who's from a completely different culture, had friends again from completely different cultures. Had a lot of crazy experiences, different experiences. You know, read a lot of books, a lot of content, dreamed a lot, wrote a lot. So in that way, I'm very happy with where I'm at. But what I mean is, my case is that I never dared of dreaming that big and going for such a big goal that I couldn't even conceive of how to reach it. All the goals I went for were quite reachable, and I could see the way, sort of. It was safe. And often in relationships, it was the same way. It was safe. I couldn't, like, I feel like in relationships it's different, of course, but like, there was always this fear. What if this is the dream guy? There's a lot of fear. This dream opportunity, this big dream, I don't even know how to make this happen, and this big fear was always there. So I didn't dare greatly, as people say. But maybe for other people, it was different things. Like, I'm thinking now about this, and the field of opportunity is so vast. The field of possibility, I mean, it could have been money, it could have been lack of confidence, lack of belief in themselves, it could have been abusive partner or parents or other circumstances. It could have been the country they are from and the lack of the opportunities to get out of that country, which is a very real thing. It could have been just their environment they were in, that where they couldn't sprout and they couldn't grow and they couldn't even fly as high as they wanted to. It could have been a lack of direction, a lack of determination, a lack of character, lack of discipline to actually pursue stuff and make it stick. It could have been depression, mental illness. This is a major thing which stops people from progressing in life. I mean, progressing in life. I'm oversimplifying here. It could have been addiction, drugs, alcohol, uh, things that slowed them down as well. It could have been just a simple mm, disinterest. I feel like a lot of people now are disinterested in whatever, like becoming numb, because there's so much ads, so much content, so much things happening, so many negative things as well. It's a very negative time in many ways. Not to be doom person, but I think it's true. But there are so many things that are pulling you back, and I feel like a major one is your environment and your upbringing and your scenarios in your head, and those things in your head that you believe are possible or not possible for you, and those are the major thing. And I feel like here's where the internet has helped me the most in the past 3 years. All the self-help content, all the development content, actually, because I this idea that the scenarios I was given, that those things I believed in, that those things that were said to me from a young age are not actually were not said to everyone and are not necessarily true. They were not said to everyone, even in an environment I was in. For example, to boys, they were not said, and they're not necessarily true. But you grow up, you're after 30 years old, and you keep saying those things to yourself, and you keep getting stuck in those places, and you keep repeating to yourself what you can't and can't do, and you keep limiting yourself and talking yourself out of your own possibilities in life. This was actually another title of another video, but I feel like both of them are merging into one. You talk yourself out of your own potential. You talk yourself out of your own possibilities of what you actually can do. You 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 don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in your books. You don't believe in your art. You don't believe in you. And if you don't believe in you, you don't show yourself. You don't advocate for yourself. How the fuck is anyone else going to believe in you? And this is also a phrase I said recently in the conversation, And for me, it was a revelation, even though it's so simple. If you don't believe in yourself, if you are not so, like, no matter what anyone says, you believe in it. You believe in it so much, you think it's so good, you are like behind it 100%. You're behind you 100%. How the fuck will anyone believe? How the fuck will you make anyone read your stuff or like do look at your stuff, or like, if you yourself can't believe in it fully, nobody else ever will. And it took me years. I know, like, it sounds crazy because this is the most evident thing in the world, but it took me years to actually believe in myself to the point to show myself, for example, to believe in myself to the point of showing myself to other people, to believe to myself in a point to like apply for, I don't know, for publication, to get noticed, at least noticed. Took me years, years, because the thing inside me, that voice, or like those things that were said to me, or those things that I grew up with, or my environment, or whatever, like those things that I was rising from, I kept rising, but I still didn't have enough, you know, anything to believe in me, to say, yeah, yeah, I do, to actually make it happen, or move confidently towards my dream. So that's what I mean when I say I didn't dare. I didn't believe in myself enough to dare. But what I mean is, like, some you are like, you wake up. I feel like it's at a certain point you wake up. I'm not talking about spiritual awakening, even though this has to do with it as well. But you wake up, and usually for me, it definitely happened after 30 years old. You wake up in a way that you kind of take evidence of what you've accomplished by that point. You kind of look around you. Okay, I've changed so many things. I've moved past so many things. I've written some things. I've accomplished some things. Like, I'm here in my life, right? And I feel like this is the point where people start kind of listing what they don't have. They don't have a marriage. They don't have kids, for example. They don't, or they do have marriage and they have kids, but don't have a career. They do have a career, but they don't have a success. They do have a career, but don't have enough money. So they list stuff that they don't have, and I also am listing stuff I don't have. But more than that, I'm asking that question. Okay, even if I fill in all of those boxes, right? Because it also happens to the people who have all those things, who technically do have a career, do have a job, do have kids, do have a husband, do have a house, do have a dog or a cat, do have all the things, but they still feel empty. They still do the same shit every day, and they feel empty. They feel unfulfilled. They feel like life is just endless repetitive cycle of shit they have to go through every day. And they've ticked all the boxes. And yeah, I could also tick all the boxes technically. I could be married to a nice guy, I could be having kids with the guy, I could be taking them to kindergarten, and I could be waking up and doing chores, and working and doing chores and going to bed. And yeah, I'm speaking about it as though it's not interesting or inspiring, or, but you know what I mean, probably. If you also thought about something big, and you're a certain age, horrible expression, let's say you're after 30, after 40, and you were thinking that something big will happen for you, or something big will happen to you, or you will accomplish something big, you will make it big, and you had this big vision, and you had this thing you were hoping for. You wanted to make a big impact on the world. You wanted to be seen, to be heard, to be understood, to be a change in the world in some way. You wanted to be visible. You wanted to be known, to be recognized for what you are. You wanted something big, you know. I'm not saying greatness. This is like a level above, but you had ambition, and you You wanted a bigger, something bigger. You were called also for something bigger. And you are looking around yourself and taking stock of what you've done. And yeah, it hasn't happened yet. In that moment, different people behave differently, by the way. Let me check the time. For 15 minutes, okay. So different people behave differently, by the way. There are people who just say to themselves, it's not going to happen. Like the opportunity has passed, the window of opportunity has passed. I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too single, I'm too ugly, I'm too this, I'm too that. This will not happen for me, and this big thing will not happen. It's unrealistic. But the problem is, this thing inside them is painful. This potential that is inside them, that thing that they wanted, is very painful. It's very painful to know that you wanted to be something big and you never were. You never got to. It's, yeah, it's that sort of pain that never leaves you, that never leaves. And that's why I've started making changes in my own life. I've started focusing my own energy on myself. I've stopped explaining what the fuck I'm doing, why I'm doing it, whatever. I have to explain it even less. I stopped engaging in stuff where I don't see my energy is needed or should go to. That's why I went on that journey, and I'm still on it. I'm still in the beginning of it, to attempt to not to make this pain disappear. You know, this pain of unrealized potential, this pain of visibility that is not there, Mm. and this pain of less of the things that haven't happened yet. Because sometimes people say they will happen, give it enough time, everything happens in its own time. The timing is always good, is always, you know, from the universe, not from you. Give it some time, you will get lucky, it will be happened for you. But I feel like, and this again could be a different video, but it will happen to you, for you. Maybe some things will happen for me after 35, after 40, after 45, after 50. Maybe some things will happen for me, but actually, I believe I have to make them happen. And this pain, coming back to the thought where people realize that they have this pain of unrealized things and they have to do something about it, like this is kind of the defining moment. Will they start something new, do something else, keep at it, stick at it, persist in it? Like, will they go through the painful times? Will they try what they really want? Will they dare to try? Whether it's business or whatever they want, business or art or any pursuit, or starting an organization, doing volunteer work, more traveling, more seeing the world, like whatever they want. Starting a social media, being visible, being an artist, being a creator, being a dancer, like, yeah, helping people, being some kind of healer, some kind of like helper in some way. Like, that's the moment where people either feel this pain and do nothing with it, and it starts destroying them eventually, because this pain is still there. This pain is of unrealized potential. This pain of what could have been is still there. Or they start this new path, they start moving into a new direction, and they start becoming who they were supposed to. Even if it's long and painful, it's less painful than this knowing that you wanted something more and you were hoping, but eventually you found out that if you don't do it with your own hands, if you can't make it happen with your own hands, hoping and waiting is not enough. See how my voice kind of became very low and very like less you know, high than it usually is. But that's also what I've realized. That's my main, I guess, takeaway from all of this is that at some point when you look at your life and you realize that all those things haven't happened yet, you are kind of faced with a choice whether you keep waiting for them to happen, you keep hoping for them to happen, you keep kind of waiting for someone to give you this gift, or you are going on a painful journey to make it happen by yourself. You're you don't know how the fuck you'll do it. You don't know how long it will take. You don't know what the fuck you are doing half the time, but you are being, I wanted to say guided, but maybe not. Maybe yes, I don't know. But you are on that journey, and suddenly this fact that those things haven't happened for you, or someone is more successful than you, or someone is more pretty than you, or someone is more happy in their marriage than you are in your relationship, or suddenly this thing that you worried about doesn't worry you anymore. And it's not important anymore.